Samoa, 34 points to 9 victory over Russia. It looks pretty comfortable on paper, and if you haven't seen the game, I can tell you right now the first half was pretty ugly, but the second half, you look at all those times of the tries, and you can see the difference in the teams really became apparent in that second half. The Russians certainly gave a good account of themselves. Their captain at the end of the game said, they were trying to play for the respect, pride of their country, all that stuff, and they certainly did that. They kept the game close for more than half the game, but then the fact that they'd played another game recently without having a full week's rest, and as I said, the difference in the two teams kind of became apparent towards the end. Game starts, there's lots of Russian ball early, but they're kind of unable to score. They really came out of the blocks firing, which was good to see, and I guess they figured the fact that they had played Japan 5 days ago meant if they were going to get points, they probably needed to get into the lead early, and that seemed to be what they were trying for. Not that anyone goes out to try and go behind early, but they just seemed extra fired up. There was definitely a spring in their step early. Samoa, it was... not ideal early. They were looking kind of a bit rusty, and that makes sense because it's their first game of the tournament, whereas Russia have already got that one game played. Eventually, Tim Nana Williams throws a long pass, like on 15 minutes. He finds Leua. He goes in on the right wing for a try. PC's conversion attempt is about as bad as it gets. It's not quite as bad as Dan Bigger's one the other day, but it was pretty shocking. And the night with the boot for the Samoans was not great. They left a lot of points out there, but it was certainly a good try to get things started. 5-0 to Samoa. Although from the restart they make a mistake and the Russians earn a penalty. They kick it. It's 5 points to 3. The Samoans restart. The Russians knock it on. So both sides are a bit guilty of not taking care of the pill at restart time. So kind of coach killing stuff. Although that being said, 25 minutes, the Russians kick another penalty and actually go in front for the first time. So not many people would have been picking the Russians to be in front at all, but they were in front. 27 minutes, Lilo puts in a big hit, and the TMO goes back to review it. It's a high shot. The ref is thinking red card. The TMO talks him down to a yellow, saying that the Russian fullback was kind of already, forget the word he used, but basically already going down. I don't know if he used tipping, but basically he said that because he was going down, it's made the Lilo's tackle higher than it would have been. He's very lucky to get away with yellow, to be fair. And then only a few minutes later, Matu'u, pretty much the same deal. He goes in kind of head first. He kind of half knocks himself out, but also runs into the Russian guy. The Russian guy, I think it's the same guy. He gets up pretty quickly after a massive hit. And the referee, again, that's high mitigating factors, but yellow card to him as well. So Samoa, 2 guys in the bin at the same time. For about 8 minutes, they kind of overlapped. And it wasn't a good look. They weren't playing well. They were really off the pace, and the discipline stuff was not good. That being said, as it was 15-13, the Russians did not take advantage at all. They seemed to kind of slacken off a little bit. At one point, they kind of had an overlap, but instead of going through the hands, they did a big cutout pass, and like their fly half threw it to the feet of the 15. It was just like, just because you got a 2-man advantage doesn't mean you can slack off and just try to throw miracle balls. You still need to work for it, and they weren't able to score any points. 35 minutes, PC takes a penalty shot. He's actually relatively close with that one, but importantly, it ate up at least a minute of the clock, which was kind of 2 minutes of yellow card time with 2 guys off the field, so that was important for Samoa. Lilo comes back on. The Russians haven't scored any points during his time off. The Russians did almost score before halftime with a charge down of a kick, but both sides had really poor handling, trying to collect the ball, trying to get rid of the ball. It was, again, just very messy, and that's how it goes into at halftime with the Russians in front. 6 points to 5. The Samoans, one guy still in the bid by that point. Halftime stats, the Russians have got 51% possession and 50% territory, so it's very even in those terms. Samoa had 233 run meters to Russia's 118, so Russia was still relying a fair bit on the boot to get some go forward. Russia's tackling percentage was 64, which is again poor, similar to their performance against Japan. Samoa was at 79, so a wee bit better. Second half starts and Samoa back to 15 guys pretty much on the stroke of half time. Second half starting, so that's good news for them. Didn't concede any points with 2 men down. Amosa gets a try, and the Russian tight head gets yellow carded for taking him out around the neck as he was kind of going for the try. So Samoans go back in front at 10 points to 6, and the conversion is missed again. Again, the Samoan goal kicking was poor in this one. There's a drop goal to Russia a few minutes later. Nice drop goal as well because it wasn't directly out in front. There were guys putting pressure on. Very well executed kick. Puts it back to within a point. But as you can see, that's the final point the Russian guys would score. Fidel gets a try on 49 minutes. He runs a great line. They convert that one. It's 17 points to 9. He gets another one a few minutes later. And again, Samoa at that point really starting to cut loose. You can feel the Russian guys are starting to get a bit tired. The Samoan guys are actually starting to get a bit of cohesion in their game because they were looking just disjointed in that first half. But again, remember, it's Samoa's first game. Russia have already played one. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but it seemed to make a difference. And the second half, Samoa was a lot more slick. 60 minutes, the Samoans put on a massive scrum, really put on some pressure for the Russians. And by 63 minutes, Lilo gets a try. It's down the right wing after they're gone for many phases. Tim Nana-Williams was again part of it. Samoa looked to be going to the right. He cuts back to the left, and that sets up the play eventually for Lilo to go over. It's 29-9. 70 minutes. Russia get a try attempt. Tia mode. He kind of looked like he lost control of the ball. And Samoa have to do 10 minutes of solid defending as Russia just go through phase after phase. One-off runner, they're having to make tackles. They're 1 meter out for a very long time. That's Russia's best chance to score, and they really wanted to score. I kind of wanted them to score as well, just for the sake of it. But credit to Samoa's defense. They really held, eventually won a penalty, and you could see what it meant to the Samoan guys. They were really pumped up. The Russian guys were pretty frustrated. And eventually, the last score of the game goes to Leua. He shows some proper power and pace down the right wing to get a try. It makes it 34 points to 9. They miss the conversion. But a big bonus point win for Samoa. If you're Scotland, Japan, or Ireland, you would look at that Samoan first half and really think these guys are going to be kind of easy beats. But you look at that second half and have to question if the Samoans can kind of keep on that improvement curve that they were on throughout this game, then they could cause problems for those teams in the pool stages. So we'll see. Final stats, Samoa had 511 run meters to Russia's 247, so pretty dominant for Samoa. Russia actually had more possession and more territory, 60-odd%. But again, part of that was just being camped in Samoa's half for quite some time. Unable to score, but able to retain the ball for quite some time. Tackling percentages, Russia have gone back down a step from their game against Japan, down to 54%, which is pretty bad. It's about as bad as it gets when you're watching rugby at this kind of level. Again, I guess it is a big difference in these players, and a lot of these Samoan guys are professional, a lot of the Russian guys are not. Samoa impressive with 85%, and that shows they didn't concede a try. 85% made 128 tackles to Russia's 55. Now, obviously, Russia were probably supposed to make about 100, but they missed a lot of them. So, very good effort from Samoa defensively. They did concede 9 penalties to Russia's 6. Relatively low count on the penalties in this game. Samoa's goal-kicking percentage. Russia was 100%. Samoa 29%. Now, if they are going to cause an upset against somebody, you'd think that having a few more points on the board with goal kicks will probably go a long way to maybe getting a result. But hey, that remains to be seen. In terms of individuals, Gadjev, the Russian flanker, had 14 out of 18 tackles, so a pretty good effort from him in a team that was only tackling at 50%. TJ Iwane for Samoa had 22 out of 24, so massive shift from him. I really like him as a player. Leua, in terms of work with the ball, was the outstanding guy of the game. 163 run meters and 10 defenders beaten. Great effort from him. So a very good second half from Samoa. They really came into the game well. Russian guys may be getting a bit tired on the back of that other game earlier in the week. But yeah, game of two halves for sure. It's a cliche, but it's true. We'll see how Samoa go for the rest of the tournament. The Russians, likewise, they definitely didn't disgrace themselves once again, so they can leave this game with their heads held high. Samoa will know that they improved throughout this game, and we're certainly looking a much better team by the end of it. A bit disjointed in the first half, but bonus point win. Job done for Samoa, and I guess we'll see what happens for the rest of the tournament. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. It's 12:44 a.m., so I'm heading off to bed. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.